Last year, I came across a creator on YouTube who really stood out from the crowd. YouTube kept recommending me his videos and I avoided them for a long time. I was skeptical of them because he was covering some super deep topics and he looked about 17. So I'm thinking, what could he possibly be talking about? And so I clicked on that first video and I didn't expect what would happen next. Hey guys, welcome back to another dissection. My name is Faisal. I'm a full-time doctor and a part-time content creator. Today, I'm dissecting someone who I think, at this very moment, is my favorite creator on YouTube. And so naturally, I wanted to do a deep dive into how and why he does what he does. And if you've ever watched any of my videos, you might be able to pick up things that I do that are inspired by his work. His name is Nathaniel. He's an Argentinian American who's about 23, 24 years old. And for the last few years, he's been traveling through European countries, making content on travel, philosophy, stoicism, learning languages, being more productive, and that sort of stuff. And how I stumbled across his videos is actually pretty funny. So just over a year ago, I decided to jump on YouTube, this time as a creator, and document my journey of doing the things I like to do. And I had been completely off YouTube for the previous 5 years in terms of even like watching it. And so there were so many creators that I had never knew existed before who had obviously grown in that time. Matt was actually one of the first. I'll link him below if you don't know who he is. But as I was watching him, again and again the same Nathaniel video would keep popping up in my recommended section. And I specifically remember this because it was one thumbnail of him like staring into the camera. And his video titles were something like how to avoid burnout and how to reinvent yourself. And once again I was skeptical because he looked 17. And me being quite unfair to him, I'm thinking there's no way he's going to be providing any original thoughts here, like he hasn't lived long enough. But maybe he's read a lot of books and he's just sharing that wisdom here, which is fair enough. So eventually, to stop him from staring at me, I give in to YouTube's recommendations. Okay, I'll give it a try, just the one. And I had no idea that this was about to happen next. The first time I watched his video, I couldn't believe how intelligent he was for his age. He was asking these big life questions, and his videos, in short, are him just thinking out loud as he searches for those answers. And he doesn't cover them in a shallow way. He really goes into depth sometimes and makes you think, wow, okay, like he's put some real thought into this. And that gave me the impression that he generally wants to know the answers and he's not choosing topics that are simply interesting enough for people to click on. He takes a very considered route on presenting these different arguments and he goes back and forth between ideas and eventually ends up at a very well balanced conclusion. And all that coupled with the beautiful visuals, I'm like, okay YouTube, like I see why you were recommending him. So I started watching more and more of his videos, catching up on them one after another, until I started learning more about him as an individual, what he paid attention to, what information he consumed, and where his channel was heading. That's when I started to really understand him and figure out what exactly it was about him that made him so special. Firstly, let's talk about him creating original content. The first thing about Nathaniel's channel that sticks out is the topic of his videos. He puts all of his topics under the umbrella term of searching for mental clarity and performing a series of life experiments. And naturally, that's the content that I find educationally interesting and entertaining if done right. But I don't always seek someone who's sort of curating other ideas and putting them into one video, but rather I'm looking for someone with unique insights because to me, that makes it more special. Anyone can recite what great minds have already said, but it takes more courage to do it yourself because they're your thoughts and you're putting them out there, opening yourself up for criticism. You could say something stupid, something wrong, or just be embarrassed about what you have to say, but it's a risk worth taking for those who find it too important not to. And Nathaniel does this brilliantly. You start to see patterns in his thinking and start to appreciate his unique view of the world, and in almost every video he gives you something new and meaningful to think about. And number two is his talent when it comes to visual storytelling. Nathaniel is an amazing storyteller and he's able to immerse you into his videos with the help of his audio and visuals. He complements his A-roll, which is a shot like this, with perfectly timed music, beautifully slowed down B-roll and sound effects that make you feel like you're there in the scene. And as someone who's tried, I can't tell you how difficult that is to get it right. To do that, you need good writing, good audio, good visuals, a good camera presence, and all of that has to be tied together in a way that works but also gives you a unique flair. It ain't easy. Also, as Nathaniel has recently hired some assistant editors and animators, his videos are only getting better. And that doesn't take away from him as a creator. If anything, it's testament to his style that these new animations and sound effects work but also are consistent with his style. And if that wasn't already enough, he's one of the few creators I know who have made custom music for their videos. Like, can you give the rest of us a chance, please? And so what he's done is he's taken these themes on his channel and he's decided to make unique soundtracks for them. So, for example, if he travels through France for a year, he works with his composer Tom Fox, who basically helps him to take inspiration from his travels, and then they end up creating these amazing pieces of music. And I'm not even joking, like, they are amazing, they fit with the video so well, and I've even got them on some of my Spotify playlists. Number 3 is learning languages and what he calls slow travel. Nathaniel travels to countries for several months, sometimes even over a year at a time. He lives alone as far as I can tell, he makes local friends, but most importantly, he learns the language. For most of us, it is unlikely that we learn a new language for the short period of time that we're abroad. And if you're like me, you'd probably be thinking, it's not really worth it. For him, it's a big priority as part of what he calls slow travel, where he really starts to connect with the local people and the local culture. And there was an amazing point made in one of his videos with fellow friend and YouTuber Joe Franco, where one of them said, in order to fully understand someone, you need to understand their primary language. Language plays a big part in our identity, and so he spends a lot of his time and attention in trying to learn languages quickly and effectively to make the most out of his travels. I mean, how can you not respect that? Which got me thinking, there's something very different about him to a lot of the other creators out there. But what exactly makes him so different? So there's this subjective line for creators for what is and isn't acceptable in terms of when you start to become, in essence, a sellout. Things like excessive clickbaiting and charging money for really crappy products are all things that have given some creators a really bad rep in the past. And that's just to name a few. But at the same time, the sad thing is, as a YouTuber, you have to play by YouTube's algorithms to a certain extent. That basically means in order to ensure growth on YouTube, you need to be uploading very regularly, upload very clickable thumbnails, and ensure your viewers are watching all the way until the end. Otherwise, YouTube doesn't share your work with new audiences as much as you like. So some people use every tactic known to man in order to play to that algorithm to make sure that they can grow as fast as possible. And that's fair enough, I mean, the game's the game. Others, however, like Nathaniel Drew, are willing to take things a bit slower if it means better content, a healthier lifestyle, and less burnout. And to creators like me who take inspiration from creators like him, it's really refreshing to see that these things are still valued. Like, it sets a good example. It shows the audience that the creator respects them and their own craft enough to stop doing the things that they'd rather not do in order to achieve growth. And the audience's response for that can't be measured. You can't measure the respect you gain from that. If anything, you'd be able to measure the loss of ad revenue as a result of making that call. But the respect you gain from people like me really still counts for something. And just look at the type of content he's producing now. Each video is a masterpiece. The storytelling, the visual animations, the attention to detail. Each video is more than just a regular upload. It's a meaningful project. Nathaniel started his channel a really long time ago, and you can tell from the earliest videos that he wasn't doing it for growth. He was doing it because he genuinely enjoyed it. They were very home-style videos, but you get a glimpse into his character which you still can see today. You can tell that he loves creating, he loves performing, and he loves to tell stories. Like, that's his thing. And there was a time not too long ago where he would worry a lot about the YouTube algorithm, and I used to think to myself, please don't get caught up in that. But recently he made a move which I really admire, which is to upload less frequently, or even sometimes take a few weeks off at a time, just to get his mind right and allow those creative reservoirs to build up again. And he's coming out with videos like these. So I don't know where he might decide to take his channel in the next few years, but whatever content he makes, I think he's got a loyal following of people who are genuinely interested in wherever he decides to take them next, me included. I hope you all enjoyed this dissection. Please tag Nathaniel because I'd really love for him to see this video. And if you're already watching this, I'd love to chat with you sometime. If you made it to the end, please like the video, subscribe, and turn your notifications on for the next one. You can also check out my dissection on Matt Diavella and some of my other videos via the links in the description. I'll also leave my socials and a link to my weekly newsletter Life Lemons in the description below, which is like the best way to keep in touch with what I'm doing. Otherwise, do what matters, and I will see you next time. Bye.